Hi everyone, my name is Keshia Noseworthy, and today I'm going to talk about altruism and self-defense in the ant species Freelius pusillus as a part of my Biology 4915 final assignment. Freelius pusillus is an arthropod of the class Insecta. They belong to the order Hymenoptera along with wasps and bees. Ants such as this one belong to the family Formicidae. Ants evolved in the mid-Cretaceous period approximately 120 million years ago. Today, there are approximately 20,000 ant species, covering most environments from rainforests to deserts to grasslands. They're only absent from polar regions and high-altitude regions that are poorly insulated. Freelius species are present only in the Americas, while Freelius pusillus is especially dominant in Brazil. They are known for nesting underground in hot desert-like climates. Ants, of course, carry the typical characteristics of an insect, including a body with 3 segments, the head, the thorax, and the abdomen, 3 pairs of jointed legs, an exoskeleton, and a pair of antennae. They also have some characteristics that all ants share. As you can see by the photo on the left, ants have elbowed antennae and they have a forward projecting head. Freelius pusillus individuals are generally about 2 millimeters in length. Freelius colonies are generally made up of multiple queens and up to 100,000 workers. However, there is very little information available on the colony's social or genetic structure. Most ant species, including Freelius pusillus, are eusocial. This means that there are 4 distinct characteristics present in their behavior. 1. There is an overlap of generations. In this situation, offspring help their parents take care of their siblings and assist with colony maintenance tasks. 2. There is cooperative brood care. This means that individuals will assist with the care of the young of other colony members. Finally, there will be a 3. Division of reproductive labor, and 4. The presence of reproductive and non-reproductive castes. This means that before reproductive maturity, some individuals will become functionally sterile and will assist in the care of the colony's young. Ants are an extremely successful group within the insects. With so many species and their dominance in nearly every climate, the question of how they are so successful arises. Their success is largely attributed to one of their eusocial characteristics, a division of labor within colonies. The division of labor within the colony is based on the behavioral flexibility of the individuals and self-organization. It is well known that workers' tasks change over time, and there have been positive correlations shown between tasks and the age of the individual. The youngest workers act as nurses, remaining near the queen inside the nest. The next age group will also stay in the nest but will live nearer to the entrance and will perform nest maintenance. The oldest workers will act as foragers and will leave the nest. This idea is called age polyethism. On the other hand, we have the foraging for work algorithm. Observations have shown that the correlation between age and task is there, but is weak. It has been more strongly observed that workers will move to a task that is needed at that time. The workers have been seen to be very flexible and will change their task based on task demand. This algorithm supports the idea that tasks change over time, but without age as a factor. This is considered temporal polyethism. This division of labor and flexibility of the individuals within the colonies makes them especially efficient. They are able to change tasks over time and are not rigidly stuck in one position. This flexibility also gives the colony the ability to adapt to a mass wipeout of individuals. For example, if all foragers outside the nest do not return, the flexibility of other individuals will be relied on to take over this role. If the others are stuck in their task, work will become unevenly distributed and tasks will not get done. Therefore, a great amount of ants' ecological success is due to their flexibility and the colony's division of labor. A very popular characteristic of social insect species is the regular occurrence of altruistic behaviors. Altruistic acts are defined as behaviors that are costly to the altruist but increase the fitness of others in the group. This can include the presence of a non-reproductive caste. The sterile individuals belonging to the non-reproductive caste are given the responsibility of assisting in the care of other colony members' young. These individuals have sacrificed their reproductive abilities to care for the young of the reproductive caste. By losing their reproductive abilities, the individual's fitness is essentially non-existent. The fitness of an individual is generally defined as the individual's ability to adapt and survive in its environment and its ability to leave viable offspring. Losing reproductive ability takes away the fitness of the individual. However, it raises the fitness of others. This is because they assist with the care of the young in the colony. This gives them a greater chance at survival and maturity. Therefore, having a non-reproductive caste is altruistic. But on the other hand, altruistic behaviors can become more extreme. This includes self-destructive or sacrificial defense behaviors. There are many examples of altruistic and self-destructive defense mechanisms in insects. One is called stingatotomy and is found in bees of the genus Apis. When faced with danger, these individuals will sting their attacker. Upon pulling away, the sting lancelet will remain in the tissue of the victim, and this will tear the abdominal segments of the insect, resulting in death. This can be seen in the photo on the left. In the photo on the right is a second defense behavior called autothysis. This occurs in species such as ants and termites. When faced with danger, the worker's abdomen will rupture, releasing a sticky substance over itself and the attacker. This can cause immobility or death for the attacker and kills the worker. In both of these cases, the sacrifice of the worker is a defense mechanism towards imminent danger. The colony is attacked, and one or multiple individuals will altruistically sacrifice themselves to protect the others. A third example, and the most relevant in this case, is exhibited by Pharelius pusillus. This species preemptively covers and closes the entrance to the nest every evening, protecting themselves from danger overnight. This behavior is unique in that the ants act preemptively. Other eusocial insects will sacrifice themselves in the face of danger, but do not have any preventative measures in place. Pharelius pusillus colonies conceal their nests each night, making this a routine activity. This is a novel form of nest defense and has not been observed in another species to date, but was observed and experimented on by a research team led by Adam Tofilski. Tofilski and his team led a project focused on this behavior in Pharelius pusillus. The study was performed in the mid-2000s in Brazil. During the day, it was noted that there was a great amount of activity at the entrance of the nest. Before sunset, there would be a gradual decrease in activity. Once activity slowed to a near stop, a few workers would remain outside to begin closing over the entrance. These workers would carry sand and soil particles to the entrance tunnel, forming a pile. At first, ants would still be able to enter and exit the tunnel, and most individuals who were participating in the closure would return to the nest. This initial activity can be seen in letters A, B, C, and D in the photo on the right. However, the nest would eventually become impassable. At this point, it was observed that between 1 and 8 individuals would be left outside, unable to enter the nest, as shown by letters E and F in the photo on the right. This didn't seem to be a random occurrence or an accident either. The ants left outside generally remained outside the entrance for up to 50 minutes, continuing to conceal the nest. There was also a new behavior shown at this point. The closing ants would turn away from the entrance and quickly kick sand back at the nest. This behavior was not exhibited during the observation of activities earlier in the day, and seemed to be associated only with concealing the nest. Once the closing ants were finished kicking sand, the entrance would be indistinguishable from its surroundings. These individuals would usually abruptly leave the nest after closing, but sometimes got carried away by the wind. No ants were ever observed within 3 meters of the nest entrance once opening began in the morning. During this study, the ants were too small to mark, so the team could not track the closing ants to recover them dead or alive the next morning. However, they did perform an experiment. For the experiment, a small piece of plywood with a central hole was placed over the entrances of the study nests. After a few days, multiple colonies were using this hole as the entrance to the nest and had covered the wood with some substrate. After the nest was concealed in the evening, the plywood, along with the ants trapped outside, were transferred into a bowl with some sand from around the nest area. The workers continued to perform entrance-closing behaviors such as kicking. The bowl was covered by a layer of plastic film overnight to prevent escape. The team transferred 23 ants from different colonies like this, and the next morning only 6 were found alive. 10 bodies were found upon searching the bowl. The remaining 7 were not found, but were presumed dead because live ants moved very quickly and were very easy to see, when sand or wood near them was disturbed. This result provided strong evidence that the individuals responsible for closing the nest die overnight. There are many questions that have not been answered about Furelius bacillus and the species' unique defensive routine. First of all, are the workers left outside at random, or is there a method to which workers sacrifice themselves each night? One theory is that these workers are genetically predisposed to behaving altruistically. These ones are naturally selected to be the ones closing the nest and getting trapped outside to die. Another theory is that old or sick individuals are selected to be responsible for staying outside. In this case, these individuals are nearing the end of their lives. They are not as much of a loss to the colony as a young ant that has a full lifespan ahead of it. Another unanswered question is simply, why are workers even left outside? Nest closure and concealment is seen in many social insect species, either in response to an intruder or in the evening as a precautionary measure. However, these other species close the nest's entrance from the inside. This way, there are no individuals responsible for closing the nest, and there are no individuals getting left outside to die. As we now know, Furelius bacillus individuals close the nest from the outside, preventing the workers from returning after the nest is closed. There is currently no known explanation as to why they do this. There doesn't really seem to be a reason why any of the individuals need to sacrifice themselves, but they do it each night anyway. A third question is, do all the workers die when they are left outside, and how do they die? Tafilsky and his team were unable to track the workers once they left due to their size. The experiment performed did provide strong evidence that the workers will die, but the next question is how. It is common for solitary worker ants of other species to die within hours after separation from their nest. However, this could also go back to why the workers are left outside. If old or sick workers are selected, they could simply die of a natural cause that they would have died from anyway. Overall, Furelius bacillus is a species with a very unique, altruistic, sacrificial defense mechanism. While there have been very good observations taken of their behaviors and the entrance-closing process, there is very little known about why this action is performed. There is also very little known about the social and genetic structure of the species. Given the knowledge gaps, it would be worthwhile for more observations to be taken, more experiments to be performed, and more research to be done. During my research for this project, I could only find one peer-reviewed article detailing research on this specific species, and this focused on their sacrificial behavior. Otherwise, there were no papers, nothing regarding the life history, social structure, or other daily activities. Furelius bacillus is definitely an interesting species, but could benefit from being looked into more. To conclude, I have provided a list of references to sources that I used and found information in during my research on Furelius bacillus and their altruistic behavior. Thank you for listening.